Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Jamie Gerrits. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting, Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here this afternoon. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. I don't know how it is where you're located, but it's pouring here in Houston. It's about to pour for the next several hours, but We're here wrapped up nice and cozy to talk about a wonderful topic, a perfect topic for Savvy, which is entrepreneurship. Is it for you? Most of the folks listening in are business owners, but there might be a few that are thinking of jumping off the ledge into entrepreneurship. What does it mean? Is it right for you? Before we go there, share with the audience a little bit about your background, what brought you to the world of entrepreneurship.
Sure. Yeah. So just going back a little bit before, back all the way to college, where I thought I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was a psych major. I was planning on being a clinician. Decided, that wasn't for me. I'd probably send people running for the hills. So I went into insurance and really focused. I was always interested in human behavior and what made people tick. So I got into insurance, quite frankly, to pay the bills. And it was interesting at the time, and then started to get into digital communications, then digital service, and then kind of married my experience with digital and then human behavior and got into customer experience. So that's been pretty much my career for the past 20 plus years. I started when I was about, 10, like everybody else.
It's funny that you say that, Jamie, because I started in school. I was very fascinated as well by human behavior. How do humans tick and operate? And so I studied psych, and I was like, maybe someday I'll work. I was working with children with autism on my off of college. And I said, maybe I'll do that, work in a school with children with autism. And I ended up going a totally different path. But I wondered, I would often tell people I'm a psych major and be like, oh, can you help me with my problems? Did that happen to you when you were in college? Or
I think I got more of people worried I was analyzing them or trying to read them or figure out like their life history. At work, though, they'd say, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. But fortunately, they didn't ask me for advice. So I think it was meant to be that I didn't end up going in that career because nobody was asking me for advice. So,
well, I was just sitting there. Once I got on the bus in New York and the bus driver said, you're a psych major. All right, let me tell you all my problems. I'm like, dude, I didn't major yet. I mean, I didn't graduate yet. I'm not a psychologist. Chill. No, it's very funny though. But tell me, how has human behavior helped you with the customer service? Because that's a very important topic that I don't think entrepreneurs really think about, how important the customer experience is.
Yeah. That's a very big topic. All I would say is you could do all the research, you could do all the studying. People will tell you their opinion and then they'll do something totally different. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's a combination of what you think how they're going to respond, and then the context and the mood and the situation. And so for me, to be candid, and this is what I liked about being a psych major, studying behavior, what actually happens, taking that into kind of into the workplace and saying, okay, what am I trying to do? How am I going to test it out? And being prepared to fail, right? You need to be able to tweak it. So what I love about it is just, you never know what they're going to do. And then you just have to be ready to change. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I don't think there's like a special sauce. I think you just have to be ready to change.
And I like the flexibility. That's something very important in entrepreneurship. When I first got started, I didn't want to actually do people's financials. I thought what I'll do is I'll start a company where I'll teach people, business owners in particular, B2B, how to operate their finances. And a year out, I'm not getting much luck. I did a couple of things in Manhattan where I charged and they came in. People were excited for me to share my expertise, but they didn't want to learn how to do finances. Yeah. They're like, I suck at this. That's why I want to hire you. So it was like, all right, now I have to tweak things and realize, okay, I can't teach them how to do it. They want me to do it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, there were a couple of things I learned along the way in different things I was trying to do. One is, I don't mean to be rude, but you think about it today, and if you have to manually dial into a Zoom call, how put out are you? Like, you're so annoyed, right? Yeah. We're just lazy. We want the shortest distance between 2 points.
Yeah.
And then timing is everything, right? Like, so you could offer someone a brand new couch, and if they just bought one, it's, it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, we are kind of lazy. We like sliced bread. We like the Zoom calls to dial us. But yeah, that's why people don't want to actually really learn about their finances. They want you to tell them what to do.
Or do it for me, please. The do it for me.
Exactly.
It's just awesome. Yeah. But so let's talk about, let's say you're ready to jump off that ledge. What do people really have to know about before they jump into the ledge to become entrepreneur? What is the most important thing they should really know before they take that leap?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple things, right? And I'm sure you can opine on this. One is plan. Like, this shouldn't be a shotgun wedding at all. And if you have people in your life, if you have your partner, you really need to get them ready, because I know, at least for me, that was a hurdle. I don't know that, like, I think we got there, but it was definitely really, really tough. But I think planning is one really important thing, and just be a sponge. And if you're not, I'd say if you're not ready to sit and read the books or listen to the podcasts and start talking to people, then you're probably not ready yet, right? Like, you just really, really need to plan. And then, like I said, the spouse thing, the support network. So I'd say, from a family perspective, making sure your partner, spouse, or whoever, they're ready. Even your parents. I mean, even my parents were completely some of them were freaked out, right? Like, what are you doing? Why would you leave your career? So getting your kind of internal support system up. And then I think starting to get that external support system going. Because you're just going to get, you need that support. You need that funnel of information. So that's what I think, a couple things. You
talked about something. We've had several people talk sort of like, what do you have to do to get started as an entrepreneur? But the one thing I've never heard hit upon was the idea of your social connection, and really making sure that your spouse or your significant other is on board. And because that will be a big deterrent to your success. If your partner's like, hey, screw this. I want you home. I don't want you gone for 16 hours a day and married to your business. And so, my partner, we were dating at the time, and he was my biggest supporter. The very first day I told him I was going to do it, he was screaming at me on the phone going, you just left your job? You just quit? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
He was like, at first he was like, oh my God, are you nuts? But he's become my absolute biggest supporter. Now we're married. And he's my partner in biz, but,
nice.
It's just awesome. We work together really well. But see, that's not everyone. And so to know you have that support system. And then sometimes your family, like you mentioned, your parents might not just get involved. They might be like, never liking the idea, but that's where sometimes you have to go outside and find other entrepreneurs or mentors that you can hold you accountable, but also that social network that you need to keep moving forward. Yeah,
I had several Mayday people, right? When you're having one of those days and you're like, oh my God, what did I just do? And that you call and you talk it through. There's one other thing, and maybe you may opine on this. Even when I was talking to my therapist, because these are big life changes. So I had a therapist. That's also a good idea, to get a therapist if you can make the time. And she said, write down all your fears, like in the left-hand column. Write down your worst fears, and then on the right, get them all down. And then on the right-hand side, write down what you would do. Right. So like, the biggest fear is, I'm going to fail. I won't have any money. Okay, well, what do I do? I'm going to get a job. Right. So I thought that was really, really sage advice when I hit the wall at certain points.
Yeah, it's cool. You mentioned I had a mentor, and she was originally a psychologist. So she had said to me, mention me the first couple of words that come to your mind when you think your business. And I was just like, failure, destitute. And she's like, okay, this doesn't sound like a recipe for success here. And so she's like, all right, let's go through why those are coming up for you. And what are you going to, what is the worst possible thing, if you were to imagine, is going to happen if like you don't succeed? And I was like, homelessness, being in the street, starving to death.
Exactly.
And she's like, well, how realistic is that? Like, when you really go through it, I mean, do you have a family support here? Your family's behind you, or your partner's behind you. Are you really going to be homeless? So sometimes when you really start to look at the greatest fear right up close, you realize there's not much credence to it. And like you said, there's options. Like, you can go like, okay, if the worst came to worst, I could take a job or a side hustle.
Exactly. And and yeah, get the side hustles going. That's also a good idea. I did that. I mean, I had them going. I had my network ready. I'm like, I don't know exactly what my business is going to be, but I wanted to have a consulting gig set up. So you do the side hustles. You don't really have a choice, I think, when you're just starting out.
You just got to take it, get out there, get your feet wet. Now, you mentioned something else very important, and that was building a network and really connecting and meeting people. And if you're not ready to do that, maybe you shouldn't do this, because for me, I just got out there, did a lot of things, met a lot of people, and it was uncomfortable because I was the type of person that hid in a cubicle. And I did a lot of finances, which is numbers. And I'm really good at that. But dealing with people was not something I had to do on a day-to-day basis. It was really outside of my comfort zone. And so now I do it all the time. But then it was like, I had to push myself. And then some people who decide, a business sounds great, I'm going to work for myself. But that means that you're going to have to do certain things you hadn't done as an employee, perhaps. And are you comfortable with some of those things?
Yeah, and for me, networking was always kind of that slimy, uncomfortable word that it just felt like dating, right? It was so awkward. like, why am I talking to you? I have nothing to offer you. So it was always such a dirty word to me. But when I did make the leap, which is totally, the ledge analogy is perfect. I liken it to jumping out of the plane. At some point, you just got to hold your breath and do it. Yeah. But I just decided I have to talk to everybody, because you never know. It's like that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like, that person could lead to your next job, a podcast, or, a client. And that's exactly what happened. So I think the greatest thing for me in that whole experience is I could talk to, anybody.
Yeah.
Now I know how to business date with no problem.
Business date. It's interesting. When I first got started, I didn't know what networking events would be good, who would be my target market. I knew nothing, but I knew one thing. There's a whole bunch of things I didn't know that, to run a business, and not just the finance part of it. So what I decided, that I created my own meetup group, which was other business owners, each with their own expertise. And my one rule is you're not allowed to pass out business cards, because I want us to really get to know each other. And if we're going to help each other, it's from a, like, I have something to offer and we'll all help each other, but it's not like you have to. And it became a year and a half. We just really, it was a great, support team and group. So it's like, I think if you don't have that around you, create it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I remember reading that, and there were some meetups. There's also what I found, and I don't know if it's more common now, there's these kind of groups, corporations getting together to help entrepreneurs. So like in Connecticut, we have something called Reset. So I went to their pitch night. I mean, it's just really inspiring, but I think every community has those. So you just go out and you just show up. I think the great thing about that community is they're just really, they're so welcoming. Like, everybody gets it. They get that you're kind of struggling for that next paycheck. And even if you're doing well, you never know how next year is going to go. Exactly. It's a great community, one way or the other. It's a great community, a lot of energy.
Yeah. And it also, you mentioned pitch night. What's great is that when I started going to these events, even outside of my own meetup, then you got 30 seconds, give your pitch. And so it took me time to build that. What do I do for people, and how can I say it in like 30 seconds or less? And so that you got to work on that. The more the, Toastmasters or whatever you go to, the more you get comfortable with just like, boom, talking about what you do, how you help people, and really clear and concise manner so that people really get it.
Exactly. Yeah. And the more times you say it, no one wants to hear this, but practice is absolutely necessary. And you have to look. I mean, the other thing too, the advice I always gave people, I don't know about you, but I had a list of 15 different business ideas when I did this. And one tip I heard was talk to people about them and then see what people get excited about. It's really weird what people pick up on. There was a woman I spoke to, and she started like this, they're like comfortable play mats for kids, but they look like rugs. So they don't look tacky. Yeah. And she said the way that she picked it was she would talk to her friends and they got so excited about it. And now she has like a multi-million-dollar company doing it. But that's what she did, because you fall in love with your ideas. Yeah. And you can't tell, what's going to resonate in the market. So that was a great tip that I got too.
Yeah, because she really just brought it out there and said to the marketplace, what jives with you? What do you really want? And now going back to your own skills and gifts, someone will love, crocheting, and they're like, oh, I'm going to crochet and make a business of it. Yeah. well, it's great, but do people want to buy whatever you're going to crochet? Because your skills and talents might not be what's necessary or what people need or want right now. So one thing I would say I did when I first got started, I said to all my friends, what do you see me doing? And my mom's like, a hairdresser. I'm like, what? I hate hair. She's like, yeah, but you're always coloring your hair different colors. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to do other people's hair. But the one thing I got when I talked to each person, they said you really connect well with other people, and you just know how to get them to open up. And so, hence years later, this podcast has now become its own entity in business. But that's it was, great. I recall them saying that over and over again, talking to people. I'm like, well, what was that going to do? That's not business. You never know. So, sometimes getting those tips from family members, you're like, you could do this. And then you're like, later on, you see that this actually fits perfectly into this business model.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the things that I remember, like I said, I'm sure you read a lot. I looked for something that the market wanted, right? Not just something I wanted to do. And I looked at what I had expertise in. So where would I have credibility? And then I looked for something or a business model where, it would play to the resources I had. I couldn't code, right? I wasn't going to stand up a website tomorrow. I didn't have venture capital money. So I had to, I did consulting and had a different model where it was based on partnerships. But yeah, really making sure that that the market values the problem you're going to try to solve, I think is really important to figure out.
Absolutely. Now, what's the top advice for, say, a newbie out there who's never even thought about a business that's considering it? What would be your first step towards action to doing that? No,
I think really it's just, I would talk. One step is just talk to an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I know my former boss said there's two things in life you never want to do unless you have to. It's get a divorce and start a business. He just had the itch. I had the itch, but just talk to him, because I think you're just going to get so much in terms of like what their experience was. And then you kind of know, like, either you're going to get excited or you're going to be going, yeah, that's not for me. I like this idea of not being on 24/7. I like a paycheck,
Exactly. So. I get to count on that. It's interesting. Many years ago, I loved to travel. So I thought very early on, after high school, I would take a job as a flight attendant, not a pilot. I didn't think of that at that moment, but I was thinking, travel agent, flight attendant, something like that I could get free tickets or travel cheaply. And then I started talking to people in the industry about being a flight attendant. And she's like, it's horrible. You're just serving all day in the air. It's 16, 17 hours on your feet. And then I talked to a number of other people in the industry, and I found that, So yeah, you're exactly right. Sometimes just talking to that expert in that field or what you want to do will make you feel, are you excited about it? Is it something you could really see yourself getting up and doing every day?
Yeah. I do feel, I don't know about you, but I do feel like usually you can tell, like, an entrepreneur when you meet them, they always have some ideas, or you can tell their voice gets really excited when you're talking about it, or they'll ask you a million questions about, what was that like? And, so that's what I would say if they really weren't thinking about it already, but just talk to somebody. That'd be the first step in a very long line of steps, right?
Absolutely. Well, this has been a fabulous talk. We could go on for hours, but is there a way people can contact you, find out more about you? How can they do that?
Yeah, sure. My LinkedIn, it's just Jamie Gerrits at LinkedIn. So that's the best way to contact me, since I'm back in corporate right now. But that would be the best way. So
awesome. Well, it's been a tremendous conversation. I just thank you again for Jamie coming out here and sharing your great wisdom today on Savvy Broadcasting. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.